Well, I went out for a test ride and I stayed out a little bit longer than I initially thought because the bike performs so much better seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, I know exactly where. It's the EJK, but I was not expecting the performance increase that it gives. So today I'm going to be installing the Dobek Performance EJK on my CRF 250L. This is a pretty simple modification to do to the bike. It is only one electrical plug. You have to connect a wire to ground and then just route some wiring. That's really it. I'll get into the tuning part towards the end, but for now I'm just going to kind of show briefly how to install this thing. This is where the fuel injector is on this bike. This black piece right here covers up the throttle body, and this gray piece up here is the fuel injector plug. Now it's going to be hard for me to show you exactly what I'm doing because it's very tight, but you just pinch the clip and try and pull it off of the fuel injector. Just like that. And now that is free of the fuel injector. So this gets plugged into the EJK, and the EJK gets plugged into the fuel injector. This is a little bit more of an up-close shot of that same area on the bike, just above the throttle body. Before I get ahead of myself, let me show you what comes in the EJK kit. This is the EJK module. There's the computer unit. This plug goes into the connector that's on the bike for the fuel injector, and this one goes into the back of the fuel injector. So this goes on the fuel injector, and this one goes into the fuel injector plug. This also comes with a piece of Velcro, so you can Velcro it to the bike. And then it comes with some instructions, zip ties, and it also has some stickers, but I'm going to be putting those on later. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out the routing of the cables that I want to take. I'm pretty sure I just want to take the Velcro and Velcro this here. I might put it back here, which is a higher spot. Might be less susceptible to water ingress, but that is to be determined. As far as the ground cable here, I'm thinking maybe right here would be a good spot, depends on the size of that bolt. Otherwise, I will find something else within the bike. But I think going underneath the frame here, then following along this area over here, and then trying to get into the engine bay through this direction is going to be the shortest and best route, and then I'll tuck the excess up, the excess wires up here. Something I'm not going to be able to show you very easily is plugging in this plug to the fuel injector because my hand is going to be in the way. But I think you understand how to plug in a connector, so I'll just skip that for now. And there we go. So now my task will be to tidy up some of this wiring and Velcro the EJK to the bike. The wire routing that I've decided on is to just follow the factory harness up through here, and then for the ground lead, go up to here and then double back and go down to this bolt that I should never have to remove for any reason, so I figure that's a good one. I don't want to put that on a fastener that I'll be taking on and off regularly. And the reason why I doubled back like that is just to take up the slack without having a big wind-a-wire, sort of like what I have here. So next I have to start the bike and get the EJK program to the settings that I would like to start with. So here are the settings I'm going to start with, and you can change through all your settings pressing the mode button. I'm going to go with 2 for the green, 2.5 for the yellow, 4 for red, 5 for the green and blue, 4 for the yellow and blue, and also 4 for the red and blue. Now I came to these settings based on a couple different things. One would be the Dobek stock suggestion for if you have no mods to your bike. Comparing that against Dobek's stage 1 suggestions for if you have stage 1 mods to the bike, which would be a little more flow from the airbox as well as a higher flowing exhaust. And then also just from looking at some other people on YouTube and seeing what mods they've done versus what settings they're running. So I think these are some, nice conservative settings to start with. I may have to change them, I may not, but regardless I will be experimenting up and down from each of these settings to see what works with the bike. I will be doing another video on settings later once I've had time to actually learn the settings and figure out what works well for this bike and just getting some more personal experience with it. Well, I went out for a test ride and I stayed out a little bit longer than I initially thought because the bike performs so much better seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, I know exactly where, it's the EJK, but I was not expecting the performance increase that it gives. I was expecting it to be maybe just a little bit better, a little bit more powerful, maybe, and maybe it would be confused with some placebo effect, but it is absolutely and definitely more powerful than it had been before. So I've got some thoughts, and the main thing to explain how much better it is that it is no longer a struggle to stay going 55 to 60. So this bike will easily go 55 to 60 miles an hour. It's not a problem for it exactly, but you do have to watch your revs and watch what gear you're in, and if you're going up as an incline or if you have a headwind, you have to kind of change your strategy on how you want to keep your speed up. And in some cases you just can't help it and you're going to slow down. But now you can easily stay in 6th gear and not have to worry about it. Because before I would have to go 58 to 60 miles an hour just to get the RPM up high enough in 6th gear to have enough power to stay going that speed. Where in 6th gear, if you drop it down to 55, you no longer have enough RPM and the power band and all that blah, blah, blah. But now it has enough to actually stay where it's supposed to be the whole time, which is awesome. The other thing is that while it may have only added 1, maybe 2 horsepower overall to the bike, because you have that just tiny bit of extra power, you are more willing to stay in a lower gear and therefore have more power and torque again. Now the other thing is that because it's running a little richer than it had been before, it feels so much smoother all throughout the rev range, from idle all the way up to 10 to 11,000 RPM. And I rarely rev that high, but for the sake of testing this out, obviously I have. And because it's smoother in those higher RPM, I'm more willing to use the higher RPM and use more of the power that was the power that was always up there. I'm more willing to use now because it's smoother. But again, I have that little bit of extra power because of the better fueling. So I don't know why I didn't get this earlier. I wish I had, but I'm glad I have it now. It'll be a fun thing to play around with the settings just a little bit, but even if I never touch them from where I have them now, I will be very happy. It is an excellent purchase, at least for the riding that I do. I can say definitely glad I bought it, definitely would buy it again. So till next time, see ya.